What's going on, guys? Hey, it's Anthony here at the Breakout Daily. Thank you for tuning in. Today we've got a fun video. So here on the Breakout Daily, if you're not familiar, I do a lot of comic book open boxes, talk about some of the runs and some of the specs, a little bit of everything. I do have a ton of videos that we're working on, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today we have something exciting. I got a couple of stacks of books here in front of me. Here's one. Here's another stack, and we're going to have kind of a fun time talking about an issue in the comic book world and some things that you can do to protect yourself, maybe friends, family, those that are participating in the hobby of collecting comic books. So let's dive into the video. All right, guys. As always, if this is your first time checking out the Breakout Daily, take a moment, hit the subscribe button down below. I truly appreciate it. We've got something kind of fun to talk about today, and we're going to go kind of all over the place, but we do have a culprit to start this off with. There has been a ton of videos and Instagram posts and a lot of different things talking about this book right here, Ultimate Fallout 4, the facsimile. Okay, as you can see, you've got the Marvel, you've got the updated barcode on the side, $3.99 price tag, and a lot of things. So facsimiles have been around for a while now. In fact, I own several facsimiles, I own reprints, I own copies in a lot of different cases, especially when you look at the collecting market on books like these and books that are far greater than Ultimate Fallout 4. When you're getting into the Hulk 181s, you're getting into the Werewolf by Night 32s, and a lot of those books, they have recreated these to make it affordable for those that want them, and it's cool. I think it's a cool thing. I think it's awesome for the collectors and the readers and everything of the like, because if you have the Ultimate Fallout 4 in mint condition, you're probably not going to bust this bad boy open and read it. Maybe you are, maybe that's your thing, but let's talk about this a little bit. So recently, again, there's been so many different videos on this. So I'm going to broaden this out a little bit, but this book has been posted all over the place for $500, $300, and there's some trickery behind what's being said and what is not being said to try to lure people in to purchase this book as opposed to this book. Okay, so this is the real copy, a real copy of the Ultimate Fallout 4. You've got your white emblem, or excuse me, it's probably not going to focus, but you've got the white as opposed to the red. Everything else looks fairly similar, if not exactly the same. Then you go to the barcode difference, right? So this is what people want for $200, $300, $400, whatever the price is. But this is what they're getting. Super not good for the industry, not good for sellers and whatnot to do that. Now, there's also a lot of other variations. So this is a direct facsimile. This is the original, but you have other runoffs as well, which is like this Halloween Comic Fest. Okay, this is issue 0. Again, red labeled, big ass Halloween thing on it. You also have stuff like this, a second print. This is the Sarah Pichelli cover, second print of Ultimate Fallout 4. Now, why am I bringing all this up? Well, as a collector, I've been duped and have made poor decisions, and I wanted to share some information with those that are considering whether it's second prints or facsimiles or what have you. Now, they all serve a purpose. Everybody's got their own collections. You guys choose what you want to do as far as that goes, but do your research. That's more or less the point of this. Is you don't want to spend $400 on this guy. Okay, as cool as it is, it's not worth $400. This guy, yeah, near mint condition, $400, you're getting a pretty good deal. $500, you're getting a deal still, because this book at this time raw, from what I saw, is fluctuating between the $600 to $700 mark. You get into the gradings, depending on the grade of the book, of course. But you'll climb from there depending on the grade. So this guy is worth cover price and maybe a little bit over. Still a cool book, but you don't want that. But you also don't want to get duped into paying an absorbent amount of money for these one-off variations as well. So while this is out of this collection right here with the Ultimate Fallout, this is the second most valued book, with the raw coming in over $100. And I think there's a market for this in the future. You still need to consider what it is you're trying to do or what books you want to invest in, because you really don't want to overpay for essentially a book that is valued at little to nothing, right? And for the collectability and everything in between. So if you do have the information and you do know what you're looking for, you can negate doing that, like I showed you with those books, the red label versus the white label, the barcode, the way that it's set up, no frame versus frame. You can easily look this information up, whether it's cover price or Marvel or whatever the provider is. Do some research or ask people. There's tons of research available to those that seek it. You can ask questions on IG, on Facebook, on YouTube. Hey, I know you have a copy of this. Is there anything different between this, that, and the other? Know what you're buying before you buy it, and then don't overpay, especially on reprints. Now, some reprints are worth money, and there's a lot of cool ones. Here's a really cool facsimile. Again, this would be the first appearance. The original would be the first appearance of the Punisher. This is clearly a reprint. If you bought this thinking this was the Spider-Man, the ASM, you are way off in the weeds there. This looks nothing like the original, with the exception of the Punisher and Spider-Man being in the scope. So again, super cool books, just not the original. Like I said, I love them. Now, a couple of other things to consider too, if you're trying to get into the markets, is there is so many variations on first printing, second printing, third printing, fourth printing, fifth printing. And that's what I also want to talk about, and then we'll talk about runs as well. But a simple example is understanding what the printing is. And again, if you've got cover price or you've got some of these other comic book collecting applications, they're going to do the work for you. Just type in the title, go to the cover, and then you can skim through and see, okay, this was a first print, second print, third print. Most of the time, you're going to see a label like this Strange Academy #1. So this is Strange Academy #1. However, it's probably not going to focus. Right here, there it goes, kind of. Right here it says third printing. And in some cases, I have a book I didn't pull out. I should have. I have a Moon Knight. The third printing is worth more than the first printing, so I intentionally bought the third printing. I intentionally bought this print, but know that going into it. What are you trying to do? In some cases, the print run runs a limited number and has different art or different design, thus possibly increasing the value of the book, but not in all cases. Again, do your homework. In a lot of cases, the first print is worth more than the third print, but you need to know that, because you don't want to pay first print pricing on a third print that is at cover price in value or whatnot. So that's another thing you need to consider. What print or variation is it? I also have another book. Let me grab it. Actually, it's in my stack of books right here, because it's a really good example of a second print as well. Let me skim through my books here. Some of these books you guys will be seeing in a future unboxing video, because I have been going kind of slow with my unboxings or my video editing, so I apologize for that. But there's a perfect example of a book here somewhere. I might not be able to find it. Maybe. Come on. That is it's worth money. Don't get me wrong. Let me see if I have it. I thought I did. Could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Almost there. Almost there. Dang it. I might have taken it out of here. Or it's in here somewhere. All right. Well, maybe I didn't leave it in this stack right here. So anyways, it is the first appearance of Morbius in the ASM books. It is a second printing from the 90s. Is it worth what the original is? No, it is not. it's still worth, I think, between, right around the $100 marker, 50 to $100. The price fluctuates. Clear difference on it. It's cool because it is an older reprint as opposed to the new ones. But nonetheless, it's a reprint and it's not worth what the original value is. Not to say it's not worth anything, because like I said, it's worth, I've seen the prices fluctuating on ungraded between 50 and $100, which is still pretty cool. Unfortunately, I must have it in a different bin. So that's another example, right? And so also really cool, also cool to own, because I can't afford that ASM with the first appearance of Morbius at this time, but it's still a cool book. So understand the differences between the facsimiles, the prints on the actual books, because there's tons of books out there that say number one of this and of that, and it could be a second print, third print, fourth print. Now, we're not going to go into variants today. That's a whole nother conversation for a different day. But while we're on the topic of number ones, funny thing is also understanding the differences in series. Now, a lot of this stuff might be, maybe you're watching this and saying, yeah, no shit, I got it. But a lot of people don't understand that there is so many different series in these comic book runs, especially the older the characters. There's millions. If you look at X-Men, there is so many variations in series and runs that you can get lost in what's worth money and what isn't worth money. And there's variations of even smaller characters that you may think, I have a number one of this book, without doing your research again, and it's not worth a whole lot. Now, let me give you an example. These are spec books for me. I got both at a really good price, which is awesome, because I think it's going to grow. But nonetheless, these are two number ones. We have Sweet Tooth, number one, which is the first run of the Sweet Tooth character in a comic run. Awesome. But then many years later, because I think this was, I'm going to mess up the dates on this, but I think this was the early 2000s. Now we have in 2020, Sweet Tooth, The Return, right? Number one, completely different book. So you have to understand that, because there's a lot of runs that run year after year in difference. And there is, from a collectability standpoint, from a costing standpoint, and from a lot of other standpoints, there's a big difference between this book and this book. Future spec, current spec. Future spec, current spec. Is the show going to inflate this book? Because this book's already gone up and hopefully will continue to. It's just food for thought, guys. That's a series difference, right? So you have to understand that. Another fun example of that would be like the Eternals. Same concept. I should have grabbed more, because I've got several other variations of the Eternals from different series. You've got the Eternal Series 1, number one, right? 9.6. This is worth a little bit of money right now, right? But then you've got Eternals number one. Now, granted, both are cool books. Both have first appearances and whatnot. But this is the main key. This is, I believe, the first cameo appearance of Phastos and a Deviant, versus this, which has the origin and first appearance of the Eternals, where you're getting Icarus, I believe, and a bunch of other characters. But anyways, this is the book you want. Now, actually, there is facsimiles of this book. You can pick up the facsimile between $5 and $10. This book right now is going between about $700 to $1,000. That's the importance of understanding the differences between facsimile and these. And then, of course, you also want to know the difference between series and series, because if you're uneducated on that and you stumble across this, it says $35, and you buy it, you get home to find out that it's worth like $5, $10. Not to say it's a bad book, but you probably were thinking this and accidentally got that. So big point of this, the main point really is, if you're looking at big books, especially, do your research. Ask people, ask a friend, ask someone on IG, because you can also see what other people, like if you go to the Break Period Out Daily IG page, you can look at my photos of these books. And if you ask, hey, is that a real copy? Is that a facsimile? You study it, you're going to be able to tell, generally speaking, relatively quick on whatever it is you're looking at and considering versus what is real and what isn't real. And you definitely want to do that up front before you exchange money for anything. And again, I have nothing against, I love facsimiles. I love like the Shattered books. I've got several. I've got Daredevil shattered there. I've got, you can't see it in frame over here, I've got that Spider-Man #1 McFarlane cover, shattered, autographed. I absolutely love them, but there's a place and a price point for those books as opposed to the originals. In that case, I think actually that book is worth more than Spider-Man. A little different. But if you had the Amazing Fantasy 15 reprint and you thought it was the original and you go spend $20,000, bad on the sellers, of course. The sellers, I hate that people are doing this, but nonetheless, you're out of 20 grand because you're not recouping even close to that, even with a reprint. So I just wanted to have fun with this video, guys. Talk about some of the stuff that just kind of came to mind. I was just going to talk about the Fallout stuff, because the Ultimate Fallout, because I had it sitting here, and there is a ton of stuff on eBay right now where people are misleading people into believing that it is the original as opposed to a reprint or a facsimile, and which is a big book. I mean, it's the Miles Morales book, right? It's the first appearance of him. That's why the Sarah Pichelli second print is worth money. That's why the first print's worth money. That's why there's so many variations of the copy of the book, and the book is continuing to grow with time, as it should, as they also should have done the facsimile like they did. However, to a uneducated or naive buyer, you don't want to buy those books. You're going to regret life when you end up pulling the trigger on a $200,000, $500,000 book that really is not worth even close to that value. And I can tell you from experience that I have done that. I did that with a baseball card a while back. It was a Lou Gehrig. Everything looked pretty right on the face of it. It had the right patina for age. It had some of the stuff, but after heavy investigating, and I bid on it, I, in the end, did not end up continuing to bid. I ended up backing off of it because there was some verbiage on the back of the card that did not match the original. And that card ended up going for $1,000 to someone that I'm positive it was worth maybe $50. So unfortunately, it wasn't the Grail, because that card in bad condition, if it were real, is between, you know, a $7,000 and about $15,000 card. The condition that that card was in would have probably pulled $20,000 to $30,000. But it's not the real card. So nonetheless, it's fun. It's fun to educate yourself. I've had a blast looking into the differences between this book and that book, the second print, third print, fourth print, the variants, the series runs and everything. But just don't get caught. Don't get pulled into that FOMO. Don't get caught in those moments to where you're like, oh, I think this is, and then you pull the trigger and you regret it. Take your time, educate yourself, especially if you're talking about bigger books, even smaller books. If you're spending money, hard-earned money, you don't want to lose your ass. And yeah, help your friends, help your family, and hopefully, you know, you won't get ripped off. That's the other part of it. In this case that I was talking, like the facsimiles and all that, you're getting ripped off. That's not good either. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for tuning into the Breakout Daily. We've got a lot of cool videos like this one. We've got just tons of mail call videos. We've got just so many different things coming to the channel. You're not going to want to miss out, so hit subscribe down below. I appreciate you guys. Catch up with you in the next video.